I I was watching a YouTube video. Actually, I was looking at a news article that was talking about people who don't like change. They like things to stay the same. If we stayed the same and did not make changes in our daily life, as far as improving upon something or making some adjustments so that some things can work, then we will never move forward. We will never move forward because it's hard to move forward when changes aren't made. If you stay the same all the time, it will keep everybody in the same place. And now, imagine back in 1900, where if everybody stayed the same, if nothing got changed, we will still be in that era with no electricity, no cars, no airplanes. We'll be riding in horses and walking on dirt roads or those gravel roads. And there'll be no freeways. There'll be no internet. It would just be something that it'll be ridiculous. Windows hasn't changed since Windows 1.0. The actual interface, yes, there has been upgrades in the OS to improve security, to add the NT kernel, but as far as a major change, nothing has been done yet. Macintosh has been the same since the beginning of time. Since the very first Macintosh, the current OS X, it looks the same. And the Android and the iPhone looks the same because it's going back to that same ideology. Icons. Icons versus tiles. Now, whether tiles will be a big improvement or not, I will tell you this. I haven't really played on a Windows 8 machine yet. I've been to the Microsoft store and fiddled around with their Samsung tablet. I think it was a Series 3 tablet. Series 2, Series 3, whatever the series it is right now. I'm not really up on model numbers and all that, so that's one thing. I don't follow model numbers, okay? But it was a nice Samsung tablet. It was the top of the line, and they had Windows 8 Preview installed, and I was able to play around with the features, and it reminds me of the Windows 8 phone, or Windows Phone 7, I mean. And the Windows Phone 7, I had that before. I loved it. It was fresh. It was new. And I could see the potential of where it's going to go in the future as far as integrating all that stuff together. In a blog post I did last week, I copy and pasted a Facebook post. Now, granted, my English and grammar is not good. I am not an English major. I've never, ever been good with English. I tried to learn Spanish one time. Fail. Epic fail, okay? So when it comes to language, spoken language, and written language, I suck. When it comes to code in different languages, when it comes to code, I do really well. So there's a difference. And so when I write posts, blog posts, my English is not that great, but you can see on that Facebook page where I wrote a letter to Microsoft saying, hey, this is my idea of where I think you guys are trying to go, and I want to let you know that I support your idea. This is what I like to see in the next iteration of Windows Phone, and any other Microsoft products that work together. One thing I mentioned is that let's make every product of Microsoft as one entire unit. Yes, it's sold separately. Every product is sold separately, of course. That's how you make money. But when you buy these different products, let's make them all interact with each other. The tile interface allows the ability to have, yes, you can have interactions if it was icon-based, but I believe that the tiles is going to move us into the future of how we see augmented reality on these different movies that we've seen, like Avatar and Minority Report, and also other videos and movies that has come out where you just move things around with your hands and gestures and voice. And what people have to remember, and I said this in yesterday's iLOG, is that the future is you're not going to go to Best Buy and buy a flat screen monitor. That's not going to be touch. That's not going to happen. In the next couple of years, you're going to see more and more monitors being sold with touch capability. And just like in the past, we were able to buy CRT monitors, and flat screens was a luxury. It was a luxury item. Flat screens was, hey, if you bought a flat screen, you have some money. But now you go to a store and you can buy flat screens for like $100. It'll be a small one, but it'll be $100. And so over time, flat screens replace CRT. You don't see CRT monitors anymore. And most businesses you walk into, you see nothing but flat screens. Now, I remember 10 years ago, when you walked into the office and you saw a flat screen monitor, you're like, these guys have some money. These guys invested in their IT infrastructure. But now it's just standard. It's standard. And this is what Microsoft is saying, is that in the future, touchscreen, gesture control, and voice-activated controls will be a standard. Siri I think Siri is probably one of the best voice recognition softwares out there. Siri was bought out by Apple and implemented in their iPhones and iPads. Siri is probably the best voice-activated system out there. Microsoft, it probably comes next. Android, it's really good. Android has a really good voice recognition. So as time goes on, we're going to see vast improvements in voice recognition to control the devices that we want to play with and work with. And so imagine if you're in business and you got a PowerPoint presentation, I can sit here and tell it, next slide. Now, I remember doing this because I used to give PowerPoint presentations all the time. There always had to be someone sitting at the computer, or I the one who had the control, and I have like a remote control. Now, that was high tech, a remote control. And so I'm talking, yep, in this year's projections, we're doing this and that, click, and the next slide pops up. But instead, I can either gesture my PowerPoint presentation, or I can tell it, next slide. And so Xbox, what we're seeing with the Connect, Xbox, and Windows 8, as well as Windows Phone, is that everything is going to work together. Xbox is not considered a gaming platform anymore. It is a gaming platform, but so is your computer, so is your phone. Your phone can play games, your computer can play games, and so can the Xbox. But what's going to make this difference is that Xbox is going to become a computer that you plug into your TV. And I do see in the next year or so where Xbox is going to come pre-installed on, maybe Samsung may come up with this, where Samsung Xbox 720 or something like that, where it's going to be integrated in the cameras, the sensors will be part of the monitor. In fact, I think I saw somewhere where Microsoft was playing with a three-dimensional Connect device where they're going to have either on both sides of the TV or on top or bottom, where it can really tell. And you can have multiple people with their Windows Live or Outlook.com ID and log into it, and then everybody has their own account on the same system and play with each other. That's going to be amazing. And see what I'm talking about? This is where the future is going. And the Metro style, or not now called modern UI or Windows 8 UI, is going to take us to that next future as far as looks and aesthetics and all that. And then we got voice control, gestures, and tiles. Now, are you going to be able to gesture and tile or gesture control a desktop? It's kind of hard to do because then you got to pinpoint where the X is to close a window. Whereas gestures, you can just swipe, move your hands around and just close things, open things up, and punch on things, scroll up and down, And this is what I see. Now, at this time, touch for Windows 8, it's going to be simply moving things up and down and stuff like that. But imagine that as future development happens, you're going to have the addition of Connect connected to your desktop computer. So even if you don't have a touch screen, you can still control the Windows platform, the Windows UI, without a mouse, just by using gestures, because you got to connect it to your computer. Because Connect is going to have the ability to connect to your computer just like it does to an Xbox because there are SDKs out there. Now, what happens is that developers need to get on board. They need to get on board with Microsoft and start developing software that can work in the Metro version. For instance, Adobe Premiere. Why can't Adobe Premiere be Metro? It's very easy to do. The computer's powerful enough to control it. And so it's not a fact of that Windows 8 cannot run high power applications. Yes, it can. Windows 8 has the power, and I'm talking about without desktop, has enough power. You just have to develop it in Metro style, and that's it. And make it where it can work with SDK. So if the person does have connected to their computer, they can control it by gestures, they can control it by voice, and they can also control it by way of a mouse, a little, those pads, those draw pads. I can't remember exactly what you call them, and and just have the ability to move to the future. And again, I'm going to guarantee this, that Apple, within the next year or two, maybe next year, maybe not this soon, but next year, Apple's going to come up with their own version of something that's close to Metro. It won't be exactly the same. It probably won't be the tiles, but I think that they're going to get rid of the icon-based system, and they're going to make it where everything is working in some form of modern UI that Apple's going to adopt, and we're going to see this probably next year. And it's going to be awesome. Apple's going to do a really good job. And Microsoft did a really good job with their UI. But people don't like change. They really don't. People have a hard time with change. People have a hard time adjusting to something that is not what they're used to. And that's just people. But guess what? The change is going to happen anyway. Just like when we went from working with DOS to working with a mouse. When we rode on horses to driving cars. When we drove on roads to go long distances to driving on freeways to go longer distances. From riding trains to riding planes. We adapt. Human beings will adapt, and Windows 8 is nothing but another way of adapting to how something is to how something works. If you don't like it, get a Mac. But I guarantee you that Mac is going to change too next year. It's going to be in the next WWDC. Macintosh is going to come up with their own version of a touch-compatible system. Keep in mind that using touch on the current desktop UI is not easy to do. It's hard. That's why Microsoft had to come up with a new UI to make it work. I got to go to work now, so peace out. Oh, like this video.